Give me an idea that you think most people get wrong.
How often people think of them?
Elaborate.
Because like I think people worry way too much about what other people think, and like
Aha.
people read hate comments on Instagram and think that they'll ponder on that hate comment for the whole rest of the day and sit there and hate themselves for it. But the person who left that comment just moved on with their lives immediately after they hit send. People don't care about
Fact.
people don't
Fuck.
people don't care about you nearly as much as you think they do. So stop worrying about what other people think.
What the hell's going on out here? Welcome back, everybody. Again, as always, Dr. James Taylor. Another episode of Fueled by Spite. This time, joined by Amber. What weight class do you fight at? I had never heard it before until I asked Evan, because I just kept on referring to you as the tiny girl.
So it's called super atom weight. It's actually Peak Fighting is one of the only places that does it, I think. It's basically 105ers that they don't want to make cut a bunch of weight. They have us fight at 110 and they call it super atom weight.
Super atom weight. How often do you find somebody who fits in super atom weight?
It's actually, I think, easier than people expect because there's a lot of people that fight at 115 because they're trying to get in the UFC, but truly they could be a 105er, which is most of my amateur career was spent doing that. And then 105ers, they also want to get into the UFC, and fighting at 110, I think, makes them look a little bit more appealing towards the big show. So we can really pull from either the 115 or the 105 weight class.
How?
So I think it's easier than, finding somebody who's just a 105er,
Really?
in my
That's
opinion.
interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, your opinion counts more than mine in this respect. So obviously, can't tell. She's a fighter. Fights out of Fitness Fight Factory,
Mhm.
just down the road here. Johnny and Evan. How completely, sexist question. Why is a girl fighting? How did you get here? What's your origin story? Like, it's not. There are plenty of dudes who are gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I can fight. I'm sure you've seen them walk in the
Mhm.
gym. I'm a street fighter. I see red. Okay, whatever. Um, why are you fighting? How'd you get to where you're at?
I honestly, it's just something I love. Like I was telling you before we got on air, like I was kind of a troubled kid, if you will, and senior year of high school, the summer before, I got moved away from all my friends and everything. And when you're 20 minutes away, it kind of takes a lot out of you. So all I really had was the gym at the front of my neighborhood. And after about 6 months, lifting weights all the time got boring. So I was watching UFC fight one night, and I think I was telling you it was, I believe, a Ronda Rousey fight. And of course, watching it as somebody who's never fought before in my life, I was like, oh, she made that look easy. That looks kind of fun. I bet I could do that. So I decided, right before I turned 17, that I wanted to be an MMA fighter. Um, Found a jujitsu gym and decided that I was going to very stupidly fight my entire amateur career out of a gym that just does jujitsu.
Why is that stupid?
Because my only striking was, like, pad work with the coaches.
Oh,
So
okay, yeah,
I
fair.
very frequently during my amateur career would get the compliment, "Man, you can take a punch." And, if anyone ever compliments you with that, it's like saying, "Bless your heart." Like, it's so I actually didn't really get good at striking until, fast forward, took a 5-year break, did nursing school, became a mom, moved up here to do travel nursing. Life happened, became a single mom, got divorced, and decided, I still think I love fighting, so let's do it again. Found Johnny Bedford. I actually started at Evan Cutt's gym out in Hazlitt because it was closer. I was living in an RV out in Azle at the time. Um, and then found my way to Johnny Bedford, got my striking and my wrestling better, got the title of 105 champ for Fury's amateur series, defended it, went pro, and here we are, 3-3 as a pro, and hoping to fight again in March or April.
That's cool. Well, so you got another accolade just recently, didn't you?
No, I mean, I won my last fight in January, but it wasn't for a title.
Yeah. What didn't you just win something with Fury? No, Pete.
No,
Who are you fighting for?
I won submission of the year.
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
that was cool. Yeah, I did a
It was cool.
No, it was cool. It was another one of those things where they were like, "Hey, by the way, we're gonna interview you about this in like 5 minutes," and then I was like, "Okay," and like my brain was all fried because I had just cut weight the day before and done the press conference and everything. So I I wing it during most of my interviews, as you can't tell.
I
But
have an
I
outline
like
because
that.
I'm a professional.
I'm a pro in fighting. I'm not a pro in interviews yet, but we're getting there.
That's awesome. So what was the submission of the year? What
Um,
happened? Because like I saw, and again, like I watch enough fights to be like, ooh, she might be kind of fucked, and like, oh, all of a sudden she unfucked herself.
I think
Can you elaborate on
I
that?
think everyone in the building, myself included, had that exact thought running through their head. Good fight, stand up was good. I made some silly mistakes whenever we went to the ground. Ended up in a triangle attempt from her. Triangle attempt wasn't tight, so I was just kind of like working on things, trying to get more space. I had enough room to breathe, so I wasn't worried about it. And then ended up accidentally kind of losing my balance and sitting back onto my butt. And as I sat back, my leg flung over and I was like, well, we're here now. So just swung my other leg over and was like, we're just going to go for it. And I locked in a triangle on her, and my head popped out of her triangle attempt. And then all of a sudden, she's tapping. So I had reversed her triangle with a triangle and then got the submission. And
And it was
I
all
don't.
complete
I mean,
accident.
I wouldn't say accident. It was all muscle memory. Let's say that. That
Okay,
sounds better.
fair. It does. It was training, is what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I I joke about this. My one of my co-coaches at the time, Devin Miller, he came up to me like as he was walking back into the cage and was like, "Oh, you knew the basket escape." And I was like, "No,
Yeah.
I didn't, but we're here now."
Okay, so it is a thing. Like
Yes.
you did a thing
I did a thing.
that
I
exists.
didn't know it was a thing.
Okay, I'll take it. What do they say? I'd rather be lucky than good.
Right,
Right.
right. It's a little bit of both. When you're in the cage, you never really know what's going to happen. You could go in there with a solid game plan and get knocked out the first 5 seconds, or, everything could go exactly according to plan, but it rarely does.
What in watching like F3 fights, because it's they'll if you're watching online,
Mhm.
obviously there's somebody there with a cell phone, and sometimes the phone's pointed one way, but the fight's over here because they're watching it and they forget to do this.
Yes.
With the understanding that even though Johnny has an incredibly distinct voice, how much do you actually do you just hear your coaches in there, or do you have to pick them out?
Um, I will say whenever I was in my amateur career, I remember there being a distinct difference between trying to find my coach's voice from the gym I was at down in Houston to fast forward to when I'm under Johnny. Like, I can hear his voice out of everybody. Like, it could be super loud. They could, they never do, but they could be playing like music on the loudspeakers during the fight or anything. And I can hear his voice and hear exactly what he's telling me to do. And I listen very well when he tells me to do things. And I think that's attributed a lot to how well my fight career's gone under him.
This might be a stupid question. You ever, you ever get rights and lefts confused? Because again, like watching it, if you're lucky enough to catch the feed as opposed to like the actual like televised fight, you catch the feed on Instagram Live or something, and you're like, put your right foot over their left shoulder, something like that. It's like a what is that? It's like Twister in a set. Like you ever like because your legs are all wrapped up, they've got an arm or something like that, and you're like, wait, do you have to like shake your hand? Okay, that's my right hand. This is the one he wants me to use.
I think when it does get messed up, more often than not, it's because he's gotten his left and right mixed up. Because and it's not anything on him, but like when you're thinking about it, if you're trying to tell somebody and they're all twisted up upside
Uh-huh.
down, but like you're looking at them like this, you like it's easy for you to like yell right and left and mean the opposite. So
Right.
it's a lot
Or
of just
correct.
it was a lot of just again remembering like your technique and understand what he's trying to tell you to do. So like I listen less to when he says left right and what I listen more to what he says after that. So if like I've got somebody like in a clinch or something and he's saying like put your right hand over their shoulder, like I know he's meaning this hand. So it's more just understanding what he's asking than it is paying attention to like he said right, I need to use my right hand.
Okay. That's fair. So, woman, single mom,
Mhm.
nurse, trainer, right? Didn't really mention what do you got going on with that?
So I'm actually just got off the phone with a client that I contracted right before I got out the car with you, so that's cool. Um, I just did my first launch for my first 90-day program for being a women's health and life coach.
Sweet.
Got certified in that recently. Really trying to move into that space full time and step away from bedside nursing. Um, Helping women kind of do the whole 360, not just handing them a diet and nutrition plan and a list of workouts, but really helping them change their internal mindset and their habits so that, we can make the changes that I provide long lasting
Why?
because that's the only way that they're gonna last.
But why do you want to do that?
Because I went through a lot of shit in like my early 20s, especially in terms of the whole becoming single mom chapter. And there was a lot of that by and large that I had to figure out completely on my own.
Oh,
And I'm fortunate enough to have the mental capacity to do that and sit down and do the hard work. But a lot of people are not, and a lot of people need somebody in their corner to keep them accountable and consistent and help them until they can build the habits to do it on their own, and I think that that's where a lot of people fail over and over and over again is because they don't think that that's available to them, and I wanna change that.
interesting. Uh, Take something you said out of that. You said, and I had to do it on my own. Can you think of a time, or hell, maybe there were times, you might have multiple things to choose from, where like you were literally, I don't want to say presented, well, sure, where the universe presented you with an option of basically like, hey, you either have to find a way or make a way.
Yeah, I mean, that a big part of like the whole journey of becoming single mom was that because when me and my husband at the time split, he actually decided to move back down to Houston so that he could pursue a firefighting career and be with his friends, be with his family. I understood it to an extent even though I didn't at the time. um but there was a lot of that where I was now left with three dogs and a toddler in a fifth wheel RV, and I was having to figure out how to do nursing full time and figure out childcare, working full time night shift, and do all of these things completely on my own because I have family up here, but they have lives and they're busy. And there was a lot of it where I could have just thrown in the towel and given up on establishing a life here and done what the ex-husband probably wanted me to do, which is move back to Houston and just kind of give him what he wanted, and I was like, I don't wanna live in Houston anymore, there's nothing there for me, so it was just that determination to make things work and build a life here, and a lot of the support I did get came from F3, just from a mental standpoint, just them always having my back on stuff and always being welcoming because he's in daycare 3 days a week now, but that's very recent as of, like, the end of this past year. Until then, every time I was at the gym, he was with me, and they've always been nothing but welcoming to him. Everybody there is like a big brother and uncle
Hmm.
to my three-year-old, and so, like, a big reason why I was able to do what I do is because F3's always just been like family to me from day one.
Was your gym in Houston anything like that?
It it was, but it wasn't. There's a lot of bad blood with me and not anyone from that gym in particular as far as clients, but the owner of that gym. I won't get into that, but it was a lot of clickiness, a lot of drama, a lot of high school stuff. There was a lot of like people would meet up to watch the fights together and there was like camaraderie and friendship and whatnot, but it wasn't ever that like
Did you feel cool bringing your 3-year-old around
well,
regularly?
no, and I would. It's nothing bad like that. It was just like you always felt like there was a little bit of like I don't know if I could call them no matter what.
Okay,
Whereas like
fair.
F3, there's people that I know like I could call at the drop of a hat, and like even if they miss my first call, they're gonna call me back in 5 minutes, and they'll be
Hmm.
there no matter what I need.
I would buy that 100%. Um, yeah, I haven't been around the guys at F3 for quite some time. Reason I asked if the gym in Houston was like that, because it seems like, again, from an outside looking in, um, at MMA places, at jujitsu gyms more often than not, it seems like there's, I don't want to say traditionally, but typically like a pretty decent
Mhm.
family atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, I think it comes with the territory. Like, I think a good chunk of the gym's revenue comes from kids classes, and I
No?
think it's incentivized to them that if your kid's here, why don't you stay and do class too? So it really is something where you try and, start people off on the kids program, but then kind of see if they're interested in it and get the parents involved, and then the parents and the kids are all doing jujitsu together. And I think that there's a lot to say about, like, rolling around with somebody for 5 minutes at a time and trying to literally choke them unconscious or simulate breaking limbs, that just, like, at the end of the day, you can't not be friends with them. Like, if you go in there and you're, like, angry or don't know anybody, or you're just in there to try and, like, show off and see red, so to speak, like, you're not gonna last very long. Because either the black belts are gonna whoop your ass so many times that you stop coming,
Uh-huh.
or you're just not gonna get anything out of it. Like, I think the camaraderie is really important, and I think it's one of the things that keeps people around even more so than the jujitsu itself.
I would buy that 100%. I mean, but I've always, again, outsider looking in, like, it does seem like there's a good chance, like, not every jujitsu, like, there's some like, hey, it's, just
Mhm.
adults, but it's certainly not uncommon in any way, shape, or form to, like, have a large contingent of kids there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So going back to what we were talking about before, like at the beginning, a female fighter, you are a rare breed. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
No, I
Okay.
would agree.
So there, you had to have had people that are like, why are you doing this? You're not going to last. It's not going to work. You're not going to win. What? Why? What do you say to those people? How do
I
how do you handle the haters? I guess, for lack of a better word.
No, and I mean, like, by and large, I can see their point. Like, I firmly still believe in, like, traditional female roles and housewives and all that, and I see their point to that extent, and the only answer I have is, like, I love what I do. Like, this is the only time that I get in there and, like, just be completely 100% just, like, I guess, unhinged in a healthy way, if that's one way to put it. And I feel like being that for, 5 minutes 3 times, so 15 minutes during a fight, or, an hour a day during the gym, like, it helps me be more well-centered in every other aspect of my life, because not only is it continuously humbling, but it's continuously helping me, you know, I guess, be centered and get out whatever frustration or anger I need to get out to be able to be the mom that I need to be, or the nurse that I need to be, if that makes sense.
100%.
Cool.
I played and still dabble in rugby.
Yeah.
Play rugby? Yeah. Why? It's cheap therapy. I
Yes.
get more out of that than I would sitting on someone's couch
Yeah. Like,
talking about my stuff.
there's a really important aspect to, like, physically working through things, and there's actually, like, a lot of studies that have come out that shows, like, people with CPTSD, or complex or chronic PTSD, like, if they can find a sport that, you know jujitsu in particular has been studied, where they're having to utilize all 4 limbs at once and their brain, it helps them break down the barriers of their trauma even quicker, because it's getting them back into that childlike, um, sponge mentality
Mhm.
of, like, having to learn new skills and have all of your gears going at once.
Interesting.
It's
That's
really
cool.
interesting.
From a trauma standpoint, man, I mean, I guess that makes a whole lot of sense, because again, even just the physical exertion, if you will, you don't even necessarily have to hit or be hit or choke or be choked. But I mean, just like the whole endorphin aspect of it. I mean,
Mhm.
I've always felt better, and I'm sure you've done the same thing. Actually, even if it's not like a workout, like, how often do you do a cold plunge?
Oh, I've been sick most of January, so I've been slacking on that, but usually when I'm not having recurrent upper respiratory infections, I do it 3 to 5 times a week at least.
And you have to convince yourself to jump in every single time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Like, whether
most
it's
of the time, there's a lot of cussing until I get up to my shoulders and breathe.
right. But as whereas going that, like, whether it's that, whether it's jujitsu, whether it's just, working out in the morning, like, sometimes you just don't want to fucking do it.
Mhm.
But literally 100% of the time, I've never not wanted to go work out, went through the workout, and then when I got done, went, well, that was a fucking waste. I feel actually
Exactly.
worse. Like, I imagine it's real similar in that
Mhm.
I never thought just from a trauma standpoint, just a matter of it's another way to be able to work through things.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
How'd you make that connection?
Oh, that wasn't me. I can't take credit for that. That was just something I read briefly in a study.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you come across that? Were you looking for it? Did it just
No, I'm real big on, I very rarely have like the radio on or Netflix on. I don't watch TV unless it's my kid watching cartoons. Like
Mhm.
I'm always watching podcasts or reading books or things like that. So it's just something I stumbled upon. I'm real big on self-improvement, and I'm a real big psychology buff.
Mhm.
So anything like that, I'm like, "Oh, let me learn more."
That's a fantastic segue. What are you listening to? What are you reading? What are your go-tos?
Go-tos. It kind of depends week by week. Like I'm really big on like the I wish there were more female figures in this space because I don't know of any females offhand, but hopefully I can be one of them one day. But like the male motivational podcasts, like the Alex Hermosis and
Mhm.
the Bedros Koulians, people like that. Um, Trying to think, there's one that does neuroscience really well, but I can't think of his name right now. I'm sure I will at some point, but things like that. Real big on like business podcasts because I'm trying to grow my business right now. Book wise, if anybody's looking for books to read, I always recommend The Body Keeps the Score. It's one of my favorite books as far as psychology goes, and like linking how your body like chronically reacts to things as far as like holding triggers and whatnot.
Hmm.
Right now, I just finished Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. He's a fantastic author. I'll read anything by him. And then right now, I'm reading Mama Gina's something about womanhood, but it's trying to basically teach me how to get more into my feminine and use it to my advantage in business, which I think
Fair.
is a really cool thing.
As a personal trainer, fighter, nurse, mother, person who requires at least a little bit of sleep, where
Mm.
do you find time to where do you find time to read and listen to all these podcasts?
um, so I'm blessed right now to have the job that I do. I work 312 still, but I do it at an urgent care, where there is a fair amount of downtime because I work night shift. So instead of, having people coming into the emergency room 24/7, I'm at a little freestanding, and it does give me a lot of time to catch up. And then as far as podcasts go, the large majority of that is done while I'm driving my son to Fairfield. Um, so ex-husband still lives in Houston right now. Hopefully going to change that in the next year or so, but right now it is what it is. So every first, third, and fifth weekend on Fridays and Sundays, I'm making a 2.5 hour drive to Fairfield to meet halfway and drop him off. So it gives a lot of time
That's
to
fair.
to do podcasts. I usually get through like 3 or 4 during that trip.
Okay. So, told you this in the beginning, so a couple rapid fire things
Oh
here.
yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Give me a person you would trade places with for a day.
Oh, so you say rapid fire, and then I can't think of anybody. Um, Mel Robbins, because
Interesting.
I feel like she has a cool life. I'd like to pick her brain about stuff.
I like that answer. What's your guilty pleasure?
Ice cream. I don't do it very often, but ice cream.
That your post weigh in
No,
or post fight?
I really don't do it that often. I'm really good at buying stuff and spoiling my son, probably more than I should. I'm really bad at spending money on myself, even when it comes to just buying a little quarter pint of ice cream. Really bad at it. So if my mom brings it home, I can't promise it's gonna only get eaten by my mom, but I don't usually do it myself.
But if it's there, I
If
mean,
it's there, I'm
you're here,
probably if
I'm
it's
here.
there, yeah. Anything with like those caramel ribbons. Oh,
Had me a caramel ribbon. Worst advice you've ever gotten?
That I should be a nurse until I'm 50.
Let's see. Give me something you wish you were better at.
Wrestling. Just we're being honest here,
Here
guys.
we are.
I'm getting there.
Let's see. Best compliment you've ever received.
Oh. Oh. I don't know. can tell you like the most annoying compliment.
Sure.
Um,
Completely different direction, but whatever. You're good
no.
at taking a hit. You're good at taking a punch.
Well, yeah, that's a bad compliment, but like also whenever like I just constantly get reminded of like how strong I am or how like I can't believe you're doing this. I could never. It's like one, yes, you fucking could. And two, I'm tired. Like, can we I know I can do it cuz I'm doing it, but like I'm tired. Don't compliment me on that. I want a nap. I want a nap.
That's awesome. Give me an idea that you think most people get wrong.
Um how often people think of them?
Elaborate.
Because like I think people worry way too much about what other people think, and like
Aha.
people read hate comments on Instagram and think that, they'll ponder on that hate comment for the whole rest of the day and sit there and hate themselves for it, but the person who left that comment just moved on with their lives immediately after they hit send. People don't care about
Fact.
people don't
Fuck.
people don't care about you nearly as much as you think they do, so stop worrying about what other people think.
That is an absolute truth. Absolute truth. That was awesome. Um, best year of your life.
Right now.
Nice. Worst year of your life.
I don't know. 2021 no, 2022 was hard. I won't say it was the worst year of my life, but it was definitely the hardest in terms of how rapidly things changed all the time. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the year, I can't even say that was like the worst because a lot of good came out of it. But I don't know. I think the best part of your life is always the present moment because you never know what's coming.
That's a cool outlook. Where can people find you if you want them to find you?
If you'd like some daily motivation or just a good laugh every now and then, because gosh, I'm goofy. You can find me on Instagram at Making Muscle Mommies. It's what I'm good at. If you're looking for a coach, please always feel free to slide in my DMs. If you're a dude, please don't. Just I'm gonna leave that out there. But yeah, Making Muscle Mommies, or you can find me on Facebook as Amber Turrell, but most of my stuff's on Instagram, so find me there.
What's your fight name?
Oh, I so it was the Misfit for a long time, but like I said, I'm a psychology buff, and I had started it as the Misfit to try and like be like pay homage to like the fact that I was always like an outcast and a weirdo growing up, and like show like other misfits that they can do whatever they want with their lives. But then like I started kind of getting in my head about like what if I'm subliminally saying to myself that like I don't belong here, like in the fight space.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of like dropped it and I don't have another nickname for now and we'll see if that changes.
That's it. Like I literally had that same thing. Like obviously, like not from a nickname standpoint, but like I'll latch on to something, and more often than not, it'll be like around money or something like that.
Mhm.
And then I'll realize like, well, I like this moniker, I like this behavior, I like this thing that I did, but then like some little negative will pop up. Like,
Mhm.
what if I'm actually tricking myself this whole
Mhm.
fucking time? So then, shit, cool, kindred spirits, awesome, Amber. I appreciate that. This was
For sure,
awesome.
dude.
Um, thanks for responding when I slid into your DMs. I guess
I'll respond if you're not creepy, but don't ask if you can beat me up.
that's fair.
Just
I don't.
man, the thing we could do a whole
I don't
podcast
want
on.
to.
we- Ooh, yeah.
Again, I can't imagine. I
It's
don't need to imagine. Um, yeah, that could have gone south real quick. Appreciate your time. This was awesome. Guys, I'm telling you, like literally, you will learn more here by accident than elsewhere by design. And out there, there's really, you could probably agree with this. There's really just kind of two different ways to go about life. Either A, when it comes to a topic you're not familiar with, you're either uninformed or you're just kind of being an idiot about it. So at least after this, people can say that they're no longer uninformed.
yeah, for sure.
Perfect. Amber, appreciate it. Guys, as always, like, share, follow. Again, Fueled by Spite, Dr. Taylor, formerly the Misfit. You guys have a great rest of your day.